What is a volunteer life cycle? Welcome to the fourth of a series of videos on volunteer management and the role of technology. These videos are based on a webinar hosted by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Alberta, CPA Alberta Community Ambassadors, and other organizations. More information about managing nonprofits or other organizations can be obtained by visiting myorgbio.org. Why do people volunteer? And why is it getting harder to find volunteers? What are the specific challenges we have in managing volunteers? Is it in recruiting, matching assignments, or just retaining them? These challenges can be considered from a life cycle perspective. But first, why volunteer? When you think of it, volunteering does not make sense. Why would a person give freely of their time to an organization without any monetary compensation? People have very profound reasons to volunteer, but these are being challenged as well. In 2018, Statistics Canada conducted its first ever survey on volunteering. At the time, 79% of all Canadians volunteered on an average of 206 hours per year. And then a pandemic happened, and many volunteers did not come back. Two ways to potentially attract and retain people is to reduce the cost or burden to volunteer and examine your organization's volunteer life cycle. The burden of volunteering considers the effort to become and remain a volunteer. At the center is someone who's juggling family, work, and other obligations. On the right-hand side are the organization's processes, which are nearly always disincentives, even if necessary. A criminal record check is an example of this. In contrast, a cumbersome scheduling tool may affect volunteer retention and is under the control of the organization. Reducing the burden of volunteering helps throughout the life cycle of a volunteer. There are at least half a dozen volunteer life cycle models that an organization can use. The Last Vega model mashes up the common and unique elements from many of them. It recognizes that there is an element of chance or luck in finding volunteers, and it's a bit kitschy to make it fun. The most important part is the tenure step in the middle, where the lucky sevens are performing on the tenure stage. These 7 activities include assigning and scheduling volunteers. The Lucky Sevens is how a volunteer gives freely of their time while associated with the organization, their tenure. We return to the question at the start of the video. Why do people volunteer? They volunteer because of the 3 volunteer currencies: purpose, experience, and affiliation. We don't have a lot of time to spend in Las Vegas, but let's at least see the highlights. On the left side of Las Vegas are the activities to bring a volunteer into an organization. Those steps may blur together or are performed in a distinct sequence. Socialization aligns a volunteer to the organization through training and introductions. When considering your VMS system and processes, some considerations or requirements you may have for these last 3 Vega activities include those listed here. To support learning, the VMS may be integrated with third-party recruitment tools such as LinkedIn. Acquiring is supported by having an online registration process that is easy and fast. If the volunteer has to provide documentation, such as a criminal record check, can that be uploaded and then verified in the VMS? Once the volunteer is on board, training videos, buddy systems, handbooks, and such can help socialize them to the organization. On the right-hand side is the moment every volunteer coordinator dreads, the volunteer exit. The departure may be planned or unplanned. If you are fortunate, some volunteers might become part of the alumni. For an event-based nonprofit, the exit is a normal part of the experience. Still, will they be back next year? Can you call them? For other exits, why did they leave? Can you aggregate these reasons for reporting? Can you still send a departing volunteer your newsletter? Can you convert them into a donor or a member? Are they willing to become an alumni, coming back for special requests? Tenure is the period of time a volunteer works for the organization. A volunteer opportunity or need is identified, a person is assigned, scheduled, and briefed. Did the volunteer enjoy the assignment? Will they be back? Does the organization want them back? Tenure is where the variety of nonprofits become apparent. An operational nonprofit, which relies on high school work experience students, online shift management, and a reference letter may be paramount. For a quilting guild, matching sewing skills to project times might be important. Do you rely on grants and therefore accurate volunteer hour reporting? If so, can volunteers check in and out quickly and accurately? Beyond these practicalities, are the volunteers having fun? Are they learning? Do they feel engaged with your organization? Are you paying your volunteers enough? Volunteers must be paid for their contribution. Of course, this is not in the form of a wage, but there is a bargain struck between the volunteer and the organization. The first 2 currencies are affiliation and purpose. Purpose is the greater good, and affiliation is the sense of belonging. Purpose will get a volunteer's interest in an organization, but affiliation will keep them coming back. Experience is more tangible. These are the things a volunteer will learn during their tenure. Governance is the most basic part and is often overlooked. Does the board talk about its volunteer life cycle? Is the board asking, is it easy to become and remain a volunteer? Given the instrumental role of volunteers in most nonprofits, it's sometimes amazing how little the volunteer life cycle or experience is discussed at a board level. A VMS can support these decisions, but does not replace leadership at the board table. If your board is not asking at least these questions, even the best VMS in the market may not help it attract and retain the best volunteers. In summary, what is the burden your organization is placing on your volunteers to be an active and engaged part of the organization? Las Vegas is about the overall volunteer life cycle and managing the burden of volunteering. Some organizations hope that implementing a commercial VMS will be the fabled silver bullet for their volunteer challenges. Good governance and transparent discussion at the board level must happen first. A volunteer management system can reduce this burden, but it is not a silver bullet. This is the second last in a series of videos from the CPA Alberta Community Ambassador webinar held May 28, 2024. We hope you've enjoyed and learned from the series. Content and tools referenced in the videos are available at myorgbio.org and can be downloaded for free. The full conference can also be viewed in the next video.